Hello and welcome to another captaincy video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's a blank game week, so no Spurs or City options to choose from, and there's no Southampton or Fulham options either for the Mavericks out there. My name is Joe, and joining me to find the best captaincy options for game week 33 is David. David, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Obviously, last week we were all talking about Harry Kane, and we all went with Harry Kane, and Harry Kane got 2 goals. I triple captained him as well, so a nice 36-point haul. That's probably it, though. I'd be very surprised if he plays in the second game, a double game with 32, which, of course, we're recording this before that takes place. So, yeah, very pleased, because it's been quite a while since my triple captain has done something memorable, I suppose. And I'll take it. You know, if someone had said to me at the beginning of the game week, you know, you're going to get 36 points total out of Kane on your triple captain, I'd have been like, yeah, go on in. I'll take it. I'll take it. So, yeah, obviously no Spurs this week, so it's a little bit more wide open. But as I said, when your captaincy comes off, I feel a little bit more confident making your next call. So, yeah, in good spirits.
Yeah, I got 3 extra points for my captaincy, triple captaincy. It was Salah a few months ago. So I'm 9 points down. And then when you think of it like that, we do all this planning for these chips, and then I think, well, I've lost 9 points. So maybe there's no point in planning. But of course there is, because hopefully that should get us up the rankings. But definitely matters at hand, the captaincy. And I'm going to start with, I guess the obvious one in terms of Liverpool, because that's where I think the sort of masses will go. But they may not necessarily be the best options. So Liverpool face Newcastle. So on paper, that looks like a potentially good fixture. Liverpool, good team, against Newcastle, flirting with relegation. But nevertheless, are Liverpool that good options to choose for the captaincy? And is Newcastle the kind of team that we want to captain someone against at the moment? So, yeah, what do you think? The likes of Salah, Jota, Alexander-Arnold, Mane even?
Well, I must say I was very impressed. I was very impressed with the way Liverpool played in the first half against Leeds, and their players have been slowly sort of creeping back onto the radar, showing that they can be relied upon. I think without wanting to go too much into it, I think some of the off-field issues are going to be very motivating to some of these Liverpool players. A point to prove, I suppose. And I definitely saw that in the first half against Leeds. So there's, of course, they tailed off in the second half, but Leeds, as we know, are a fit team. So I'm not too shocked that Leeds caused them some problems. Newcastle, I don't see them necessarily causing them the same problems in terms of control of that game. The interesting thing about the Leeds game was that I think it was only the second time this season, I think, that Liverpool have had less than 50% possession. That isn't going to happen with Newcastle. Liverpool are going to have more control over this game. Salah, I guess, is the obvious starting point. 2 goals in his last 3, and he was rested in the most recent game after a very, very long period of successive starts. So I'm not worried about rest, and obviously, of course, they're not in the Champions League this season anymore because they were eliminated, so they don't have any other considerations. So I would imagine that Salah's going to come straight back in. Now, obviously, you've got on the screen there expected goal involvement.
Last 4 matches.
Salah's last 4, and Salah is top for that. And that is encouraging. The only thing that still just sort of worries me a little bit about Salah, historically, he's been the kind of player that I've captained a lot because I like to look at players who are performing well on the following 3 metrics: shots in the box, big chances, and shots on target. Because I feel the 3 of those together, if you're shooting a lot, and every time you shoot, the chances are it's a big chance, and then every time you're shooting, it's on target, or a lot of the time it's on target, then they are the kind of players that are going to score lots of goals. Which sounds, I guess, obvious, but yeah, they're the stats I like to look at, and he is performing well in 2 of those. So shots in the box. So I'm last 6, but I think this whether you go last 4 or last 6 is mostly much of a muchness, I think, in terms of assessing this. So it's last 4 matches, Salah 15 shots in the box. That's a joint second behind only Kane. His 4 big chances, he's joint 4th for. So, not quite as good. But then shots on target, he is still way down compared to a lot of other people. So he's had 6 shots on target, but you've got about 15 players who've had more shots on target than him over the last 6 matches, which includes people like Mitrovic, Mahrez, Bowen, Joe Linton, Greenwood, Maddison, Pereira, Fernandes, Havertz, Richarlison, Lingard, Iheanacho, Kane, Wood, and Diogo Jota, who obviously has played slightly fewer minutes. Yeah. So, in terms of ability to actually put some of these chances away, I'd say right now, Jota's probably the better bet. But of course, he wasn't rested in the last game. He did come off, I think, 10 minutes to go. So is he in the red zone, as Klopp calls it? Because it's not necessarily even just about Champions League competition. If he's had players who he perceives as played too many games in a row, then they get benched. So Jota, of course, is the more heavy rotation risk. But I quite like the fact that at the moment, his shot accuracy, Jota, is 53% compared to Salah's 28%. His goal conversion is 20% to Salah's 9.5. So I don't think it would be the worst idea in the world to go Jota. And this time of the season seems like a good time for it personally, because this is the type of these are the kind of decisions that when it comes down to it, you sometimes have to go a little bit against the grain to make a bit of progress. So yeah, I'm undecided right now, but Jota is quite appealing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put Alexander-Arnold in the mix as well. He's a player that I didn't get on my wild card, and I think I'm probably going to rectify that because he has got the clean sheet potential, as all Liverpool defenders have. But he does, I mean, it's quite startling, the assist potential there and his ability to get bonus as well. So, yeah, last 4, he's created 12 chances. He is the creativity in Liverpool's ranks at the moment. Whereas Salah, Jota, Mane, and to a lesser extent Firmino are sharing those goal-scoring duties. But it's Alexander-Arnold's there. So I think he is an option if you think they're going to get a clean sheet. What troubles me about this is not only the fact that Salah, as you mentioned, Salah's accuracy is not as good as you would want it, and his sheer volume is not as. He's always been, needed a lot of shots in order to score, but it's not super duper the number of shots inside the box he's getting. So. I'm a bit wary, and also looking at the stats of worst defences as well. This is last 4. This is prior to the Leeds-Liverpool game last night. But nevertheless, it shows. So if I want to captain a player, I want them at the top of this, as in they've conceded the most big chances. They've got really high expected goals conceded as well over the last 4. And Newcastle aren't there really. It's Crystal Palace. They're the worst at the moment, alongside Sheffield United that we've known about for a while. So Crystal Palace have become the whipping boys. 16 big chances conceded, expected to have conceded just over 9 goals. Guess what? They conceded 9 goals. Sheffield United as well, big chances conceded 15, goals conceded 11. And then Southampton are up there as well, and Burnley. But then a bit further down, much further down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 7th worst there is Newcastle, on conceding 9 big chances in the last 4, and they was expected to concede 8. So they've in some ways been so they've conceded 8 and they've expected to have conceded 7.54. So been marginally unlucky. Also, the eye test. If you've watched Newcastle recently, they are a team that thought, "Oh no, we're about to get relegated. We better do something about that." We've got St Maximin back, and although he could be injured for this one, Wilson is back. You would expect him to play in this one. The defence is looking better. They're just looking a better side. They're looking like a Premier League side rather than a Championship side. So
those attacking players make a big difference.
Newcastle away, but I'm not confident against captaining a player against Newcastle at the moment.
Well, they know how to move the ball into more dangerous areas. Yeah. I think that's the big difference, is that actually the defence has got a little bit better, but really what's happened is the defence is being asked to do slightly less. When you give them a bit of a break, the team generally just tends to concede fewer goals. If you can, with those fast players they've got up top, if they can go and cause problems in key areas at the other end of the pitch, you just they're better at defending by field position now. I still think Liverpool will win the game, but as you say, I think Newcastle will make it. They'll make it difficult for them.
Moving on, here's my bus captain at the moment, Iheanacho, and the reason is, we'll go back to that worst defences. Crystal Palace are the worst defence at the moment in terms of big chances conceded, and the best amongst Leicester's ranks who face them is Iheanacho. But even more, so I'm going to put another table up very quickly. We'll come back to this. This is expected goal involvement of all players in Game Week 33. So I've taken Kane off, who was top, because he's not playing. It's Iheanacho again. So, going back to Leicester, Leicester's stats, last 4. Created 5 big chances. Expected to be involved in nearly 4 goals. He's created 6 chances as well. Shots on target 8. Shots inside the box 10. He's statistically the most potent striker or attacking player at the moment against the weakest defence. That says to me, captain. So am I right in thinking that?
No, he's a great shout, a really great shout. Crystal Palace have conceded at least 4 goals in 2 of those last 4 against. So that was Spurs and Chelsea. Leicester are above both of those teams in the league. West Brom and Everton, they've conceded. They kept a clean sheet and then they conceded 1 goal against Everton. But I do think that Leicester are in significantly more devastating, goal scoring form than those 2 teams. So can Leicester score against Palace? Absolutely, as you've highlighted there with the poor stats they've got. It's hard to say whether or not on the beach is even a concept that exists in football anymore, as in just with everything going on, both coronavirus and other things. But Palace do strike you as one of those teams that are. There's not a lot to play for. They're safe. I suppose you could make a case for some of those players need new contracts, but actually a lot of those players are getting older and probably maybe don't think they're going to stick around for too much longer anyway. So they are a team that are there for the taking, I think, in this game. Leicester, as I said, doing very well. But Iheanacho just right now looks so good. Some people, I think, when you see a player of his price point perform well for 3 or 4 games, there is always that doubt there that this is just a flash in the pan and it's going to fizzle out into something less sustainable. But Iheanacho has been keeping this up for a while now and has been backing it up with some great stats too. So over the last 6 matches, just in terms of some of the raw numbers, going back to the metrics that are my favourite that I was talking about earlier, he's smashing all of them. So last 6 matches, he's got 14 shots in the box, so that's joint 3rd for that. But he does even better on the other metrics. 7 big chances. It's top in the whole league, level with Kane and Calvert-Lewin. 11 shots on target. That's 10 shots on target is the 3rd best. So he's in the top 3 for shots in the box, big chances, and shots on target over the last 6. Sustainably keeping that up to the point that, if he's converting that into attacking returns. So if you go over those last 6 matches, 9 points against Burnley, 9 points against Brighton, 17 against Sheffield United. Obviously blanked against Man City, but there's no shame in that. And then of course 13 against West Ham. He's picking up bonus points as well. He's picked up maximum bonus points in 4 of those last 5 games. And it all comes down to just how accurate he is. He's so deadly because he's so accurate and he has lots of shots on target. That is great for the bonus points. And also because he doesn't have very many shots off target compared to others, then he's punished by it less often as well. So there is lots to love about Iheanacho. And just to compare him with Vardy as well on some of those metrics that I was talking about. Vardy's had 6 shots in the box. There's 8 fewer than Iheanacho from, I think, about 60 extra minutes. 3 big chances, so it's about half as many. And just 3 shots on target, 7 fewer shots on target for Vardy. Vardy's become more of the creator, which is crazy when you think about what he's become renowned for. He's created 4 big chances over the last 6, which actually is the joint highest in the league with Alexander-Arnold. So if you have Vardy, then I don't think it's not the worst idea in the world to captain him, of course, because he's on penalties too. And the way things are looking, statistically speaking, he is the most likely player to assist Iheanacho, who's...
that's what the last 4 stats on the screen show. Vardy, 2 assists, and then Iheanacho's the guy with the goals.
Yeah. There we go. So there's nothing wrong, because the thing is, at this point, if you've got Vardy, you're not going to sell him to get Iheanacho, I would assume. That wouldn't be a very sensible decision, I think. So Vardy should still be in the conversation for those that own him, which is still a lot of people. So it's just that for me, Iheanacho is by far his stats. He's performing like a premium asset in terms of the stats that he's posting. He's playing a whipping boys team, so he has every right to be in the captaincy conversation, and I may well go with him.
Yeah. Let's go back to that table again. I just put up that shows why Iheanacho is such a good contender for the armband this week. Expected goal involvement. Looking at other players there, second is Fernandes, who will be arguably the most popular captain amongst the game when they show the percentage of those captaining a player, it's probably like to be him, just through sheer volume of ownership, and the favourability of the fixture, or so people think. So I think people are getting slowly coming round to the mindset of, if you're captaining a player against Leeds, you might not get a good return. Whereas perhaps earlier in the season, when Leeds were just absolutely going for it, and the focus wasn't so much on defence, it was perhaps a better option. So moving on to Manchester United against Leeds, I look at this and I just think, no, he is not my captaincy contender for this week because of Leeds' defence. So going back to those worst defences, yeah, Leeds, I mean, this was prior to last night, but Leeds, big chances conceded 4 in the last 4 matches. Crystal Palace 16. Crystal Palace are 4 times as bad in terms of big chances conceded last 4. Also, the figures I've got up on the screen, this is last four matches again. Fernandes, yeah, he's created the number of big chances he's had in total has been 3 of the last 4. Mason Greenwood, 4. 17 goal attempts Mason Greenwood's had. Scored 4 goals. Bruno Fernandes has had 13 goal attempts, so he's not shy to shoot, but no goals. Shots inside the box, Mason Greenwood, 15 shots on target, half, 7. And then Bruno Fernandes, just 4 shots inside the box, and then 7 on target. So he's shooting from range, and accurate, but from range. Yeah, I mean, if I was captaining a Manchester United player, it would probably be Mason Greenwood, but I'm not going to captain them because they're facing Leeds. So once again, am I right here to ignore the Reds here?
I think it's a sensible call. Leeds have become much better defensively, as you've mentioned there. And Fernandes, I think, is it just 2 attacking returns in his last 7? He's really dropped off in terms of what he's actually been able to offer in terms of consistency. I feel really mightily relieved about that because I ditched him on my wild card, largely to do with how his form had dipped in terms of converting his stats into returns. The thing with a player like him is that his underlying stats are not necessarily always the best way of measuring how useful an asset he is, because he's the type of player who shoots outside the box. So just by the law of averages, he's less likely to score with his, if you're looking just at total attempts, I think that's a bit not misleading, but it doesn't really paint the whole picture. Kevin De Bruyne was like this. Yaya Toure was like it as well. The penalties play a big part in what they can produce. And when the team are getting lots of penalties, then you feel a lot more confident. But it's just, he's not going to change his style. He isn't ever going to turn into the guy that's tapping things in at the 6-yard box like Iheanacho or Kane is capable of doing. Although the thing with Kane is that he shoots a lot of outside the box, but he's just one of the best shooters in the world. So, he's not going to become one of these guys who scores lots of goals from open play overnight. So then when the form in terms of FPL points starts to dry up, then the underlying stats kind of start to paint an even stronger picture of I need to look elsewhere. That was my thought process. I'm sure people can criticize that as whichever way they like, but I've gone without him for 2 weeks and it hasn't punished me at all. And maybe there's a bit of luck in that. I don't know, but yeah, going away from Fernandes, I don't think is the worst thing to do right now. It is scary because his ownership is still 57%, and he's going to get a lot of captaincies this weekend because they'll be auto captains because people have stopped playing, or you'd be surprised how quickly, or so rather how slowly, the general overall population of football are to actually appreciate some of these changing trends defensively. It took ages last year for people to start to realise that Villa were a defence worth investing in. We used to get like all sorts of abusive comments in the chat on these videos when we started saying, well, Villa, I think their defence is getting better, and you get a lot of people like, what are you talking about? They conceded 6 to Man City, and it's like, yeah, well, things change, right? And that's Leeds right now. So, but largely people won't notice that with the same, I guess, kind of widespreadness that you'll see in the fantasy community. So there are going to be lots of captains. It's scary not captaining him, but as I said, 2 attacking returns in his last 7. It's not captaincy material. And the thing is, if we just want to compare this with some of the options that we've got here, so just it's patently obvious that Palace's defence is way worse than Leeds. But then we look at the stats over the last 6 for Fernandes versus Iheanacho. Minutes per expected goal involvement for Iheanacho, 113.2. And for Fernandes, it's 136.5. So it means that Iheanacho's got, he's accumulating XG at a faster rate than Fernandes. And XG non-penalty for him, 3.32 for him and 1.27 for Fernandes. So that really shows you that they have to get a penalty for him to compete with Iheanacho right now. I mean, it's mad, isn't it? This season is just crazy. When you looked at the end of last season, start of this season, and we would be in game week 33 saying, Fernandes versus Leeds, no. Iheanacho versus Palace, that's the way to go. But the stats are showing it, so we are but the messengers.
Well, it's going to get even weirder because we're gonna scrape the barrel a bit towards the end. I think we put the key candidates, I think the most likely in Iheanacho, but also the most popular ones in the Liverpool assets and Manchester United. But looking at the fixtures here, it gets even weirder when you consider that Jesse Lingard against Chelsea is actually a captaincy option, which is weird. But nevertheless, I mean, I'm personally not interested in captaining a West Ham or Chelsea player. But nevertheless, West Ham's defence has been obliging. Havertz could start and could be a great captaincy option. Jesse Lingard literally can't stop scoring. I don't know whether he just scores goals when he walks down a path to his house or wherever he is just scoring. So I wouldn't put it past him to score against Chelsea's defence.
It could happen. I mean, West Ham's defence is it's a shame. My dad's a West Ham fan, so I've been kind of quietly enjoying their their journey into the top four quite a lot this year. But I'm sort of a little bit worried about whether or not they can sustain their form just on a couple of the injuries that they've got. So Declan Rice being out is a big thing. For them, his absence was very much noticeable against Newcastle in the pockets of space between the back three and the midfield four was kind of wide open for Saint-Maximin to actually come into a more central position and exploit space there. Now, some people would say, would Rice be able to keep up with Saint-Maximin anyway? Because who can keep up with him? But the gulf between those two parts of the team was quite big, and it's quite easy to exploit that. I think Mason Mount will have a lot of fun in that area. But it's not just about Rice, because they were also missing Cresswell and Masuaku. So it meant that they were playing Ben Johnson as one of the wing backs, who I think that Masuaku, in terms of that particular role, plays it better, more experienced. But also their back three has been, since Masuaku came back, and obviously in the start of the season, Cresswell on the left of it. You know, if you were picking the best West Ham back three, it'd be Cresswell on the left of it, Ogbonna in the middle, and Dawson on the right. So what's good about that is you've got players who know how to defend, but in Cresswell you've got an outlet in that part of the team. Losing him against Newcastle, the gulf between the back three and just getting the ball out and having outlets and ability to get the ball forward, and as I was kind of alluding to earlier, this idea of defending by field position, they lost that because their back three, rather than having a man who can play the ball in it particularly well, because Cresswell's delivery is fantastic and moves the ball very nicely, it was Diop, Ogbonna and Dawson, more traditional centre-backs, you would say. Centre-backs who know how to defend more so than they know how to play the ball out. And of course, they also won't have Dawson anyway because he's been suspended. So I don't really know exactly what setup Moyes is going to be able to put out if Cresswell's not fit, Masuaku's not fit. You know, all those factors will, I think, create a situation where West Ham defensively can come under the cosh kind of consistently if they've got, they're depleted in terms of the defensive assets, but also depleted in terms of people who can move the ball out of defence and into midfield and further up the pitch. So I do think Chelsea could score a few goals in this game. But I suppose who's going to start? You never know with Tuchel. But Havertz and Pulisic have looked particularly dangerous recently. So
definitely. Villa against West Brom. I guess Pereira is an option for those looking for a maverick move. In terms of expected goal involvement, last 6, I noticed that Pereira is among the top players. He's expected to be involved in 3 goals, and hey presto, he has scored 3 goals over that time. So I'm not sure what I'm going to get from West Brom at the moment. So I think Pereira is a fine choice to get in. He's the talisman of the side. And they're having a go. They're having a go to avoid relegation. So why not? Arsenal against Everton. For me, not a captaincy contender, especially because Lacazette will probably be out. Wolves against Burnley. That's I think The founder of Fantasy Football Scout, Mark, would refer to that as a garden centre match. So yeah, Wolves against Burnley.
I think it's on BBC One. Sadly, it's a shame the way that the calendar's all worked out this year. The BBC tends to usually get the garden centre games if they do get one, but I don't know. I mean, I will tell you what. I will just throw in a little line on Chris Wood. Because Chris Wood's stats have still been pretty decent. So if we're banging on about Iheanacho and saying why he's so good, we actually do have to talk about Wood as well, because he's operating at a similar level. So last 6 matches, 15 shots in the box. That's actually one more than Iheanacho. So he's done him over there.
Than Iheanacho.
Yeah, exactly.
I own Chris Wood, and I'm playing him over Cody. I'm not going to play Cody.
Makes sense. Yeah, so I don't own Cody. Yeah. I do own Wood. But I'm going to start him, so I'm
fully signed up to the Chris Wood fan club.
Chris Wood also with 12 shots on target, by the way. So he's 2 shots better than Iheanacho. 6 big chances. So between those 3 metrics, basically, he's above Iheanacho in 2 of them. And Wolves' defence, it has done well over the last 2 games, but they've been Fulham and Sheffield United, who, dare I say it, are not really quite the same level of attack as Burnley have become. Burnley are less of a defensive side at the moment, more of an attacking side. And before those 2 games that they played, Wolves, where they obviously kept the clean sheets against bad attacks, they were in the bottom 6 for expected goals conceded. So when they come up against a team that can score goals, and especially a guy who's in the statistically fantastic form as Chris Wood, I can't see a Wolves clean sheet here. Let's just maybe Chris Wood would be my vice captain.
Yeah, no, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just counting. Chris Wood is the 7th highest player in my expected goal involvement table for the last 6. That's out of all players.
Exactly. He's in good form.
He's a very good option there. Wolves back 3 is annoying though, because that's better than a back 4.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
So they are a better defensive unit with that formation. So which for me would count Chris Wood. Can't believe I'm saying this. For me, that counts Chris Wood out of the captaincy conversation. But he's definitely a player I'll be playing. Moving on, just Sheffield and Brighton. I haven't mentioned Sheffield United. We've seen, along with Palace, worst defence. Brighton, XG champions, could one day be champions themselves. They're fantastic. Well, I would say that I'm biased, but nevertheless, last time we had a blank game week. Those that captained the likes of Trossard, who invested in the likes of Mopé, even. Gross. There are options there. For me, once again, not for the captaincy conversation, I don't think. But Trossard is an option.
We'll have to go to Az if we want to. If anyone's going to captain a Brighton player this week, it'll be Az. So we'll wait for him to throw his hat in the ring for that one.
Yeah, I mean, going back, I mean that they Brian Assets proved to be a shrewd captaincy call that week. So why not this week? They're playing another obliging defence. Newcastle then much worse than they are now, by the way. Before people say why we're contradicting ourselves about Newcastle, that's that changing trend there. But Sheffield United, I haven't seen much evidence that they're anything other than a championship side with championship players.
Absolutely.
But so we've scraped the barrel. Hopefully we've given everyone some good advice there on the captaincy. There are a lot of options, and this is a good week to go different, I think. But in the meantime, just want to mention a lot of the stats we've had there. They're all from the members area, all Opta powered. So lots and lots of tools and gadgets in there to have a look at. Do have a look at the site for details. If you've enjoyed this video, please do press like, and do remember to subscribe and keep up to date with all our latest videos and podcasts wherever you get those from as well. But in the meantime, David, thanks for joining me, and good luck with your captaincy decision.
Cheers, Joe, and the same to you.